This is why as a man, it's important that when you eventually make money, remember to stick with a woman that was there with you when you had nothing. The tragic story of Caswell Maseko is nothing but a lesson to all men out there. So if you know a married man out there who is struggling with his wife, send him this video because most men tend to lose track. As a young man, Caswell Maseko got married to his secondary school girlfriend, Tembisile Masambo. Tembisile was a very young, pretty girl, very intelligent and very educated. She was also an engineer like him. And since they've been dating since secondary school, it was easy for them to grow up together and eventually get married. In their marriage, they both had a son, and everything seemed to be going well. They weren't poor, but they weren't also exactly struggling. Both engineers, both working, both making good income and doing well for themselves. But Caswell had a bigger dream. Caswell had a bigger idea, and somewhere along the line, he created a company. And this company that he made blew up, and he became an overnight millionaire. This should be good news for him and his wife, who have been there since secondary school. But for some weird reason, this newfound success turned Caswell into another kind of person. He began living a very flashy lifestyle, buying cars and even made rich friends. I guess all his broke friends or all his regular friends were removed from his list because he started hanging out with other ballers like himself. Remember, he was also very young, in his late 20s at the time. And so the money got into his head. He would travel, buy expensive jewelries, buy expensive luxury cars, and he began staying out late at night, spending most of his time in the club. And with this kind of behavior, it was bound to happen at some point that he was going to find another woman, a side chick. Caswell began cheating on Tembisile, and given his change of personality, Tembisile herself got fed up and just got tired of it. And unlike most women we see in most marriages, Tembisile was good. She was an engineer. She was doing well for herself. Maybe she did not create a multi-billion-dollar company like her husband, but when she found out that she is being cheated on, she quietly asked for a divorce and left the marriage peacefully. She didn't fight him, she didn't argue with him, she didn't even need to do all of that. To her, Caswell turned out not to be the man that she had fallen in love with, and she did not want any part of it. And when he got out of control to the point of sleeping with other women, having an affair with a particular woman outside their marriage, she thought it was best, or she thought it was time for her to go. After all, she's still young, and after all, she still has her own money. So there was no need for her to suck it up or fight in a home where it seemed as though her time was up. And after the divorce, they still remained in contact because they had a son together, and so they were bound to still be in each other's lives. However, that same year of the divorce, Caswell got married to his side chick, another wife, a younger woman named Itumeleng. Itumeleng was said to be the woman who Caswell was cheating on Tembisile with. And now that Tembisile had left, Itumeleng carried her load, packed her bags, and moved into the house as the new wife of Caswell Maseko, the billionaire. But this is where you know the difference between love and infatuation. Itumeleng also got pregnant and gave birth for Caswell. And after the pregnancy and after she had given birth, it was almost as if Caswell was done seeing her. It was almost as if Caswell started realizing that he had made a mistake. Because from then onwards, his marriage to his second wife, Itumeleng, started going downhill, started falling apart. They would fight, they would quarrel, they were never in agreement. And it became so serious that at the point, despite the wealth that this man has, he would call the police on his wife, and the wife at a different time would call the police on him. The fight between Caswell and Itumeleng was so serious that it took the police officers in South Africa to separate them, to settle them. I've never seen husband and wife that had to fight to the extent that the police had to get involved. I mean, we've seen it in many of these crime stories that we've done, but when the police have to be involved in your fight, in your regular husband and wife issues, that means it's not going to end well. And just like we guessed, it didn't end well for the two of them. The marriage became so bad that they even filed cases against each other. Being married in the same house, you're filing a report of assault against your husband, and the husband is filing a report of assault against the wife. I'm sure Tembisile was somewhere just catching a cruise and just smiling because obviously this looked like karma had come to bite Caswell in the butt. And the worst part of the contracts between Itumeleng and Tembisile, which is funny to me because, like we talked about, Tembisile was a very smart, educated engineer. Itumeleng was a dropout. was most likely a random girl he may have picked from the club. People said she went to law school but did not finish. It's surprising how Caswell left a very beautiful, educated graduate for someone who wasn't, and for someone who also was capable of being physical with him. According to some sources, Mbisile was believed to be the calm, quiet wife, the one who was chill. That was why when the marriage hit rock bottom, she didn't even fight him. She just walked out peacefully. But Itumeleng, yeah, she was not the one. She was ready to fight. And that was what she did. And things started getting worse for Caswell and Itumeleng in their marriages. At a point, Caswell started seeking solace in his first wife, Tembisile. Since they were still in contact, he was complaining to her. He was confiding in her. He was telling her everything that was going on in his new marriage with a new woman. At a point, he even apologized to her because he had seen his mistakes and was even making arrangements and plans for them to get back together. And that was Caswell's plan. Caswell had expressed that he was going to get a divorce from Itumeleng and go back to his first wife, Tembisile. And he had also realized that he clearly maybe didn't love Itumeleng and it was all just an infatuation. It's not clear if Tembisile agreed. I'm sure she would have compassion for him because Caswell would always be her first love. And I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't mind getting back together with him, as long as he ended everything with Itumeleng. But the problem is, around the time that Caswell was going to end things with Itumeleng, Itumeleng got pregnant. She was trying to have their second child. So it was bad timing for Caswell, who thought that he would have to wait for her to give birth to the second child before he can proceed with the divorce and move over or move back to his first wife. However, on the 31st of August 2018, Caswell and Itumeleng were said to have gone out to separate events. And it seemed as though they spent so much time out that they both came late in the house. When Caswell came back, Itumeleng also came back. But Itumeleng did not come back alone. She came back with a female friend and told her husband that her female friend was going to spend the night in their house. But Caswell did not know who this female friend was, or maybe he did, or maybe he knew who she was and the friend was most likely one of those bad influence of a friend. And Caswell had a bad spirit with this friend of Itumeleng's and asked that this friend do not spend the night in his home. Caswell requested that Itumeleng tell the friend to go back home, go back to her own place, and swore that she was not going to sleep in their house that night. And this is where the fight broke out, leading up to the 1st of September. Also, to note, there is a possibility that both Caswell and Itumeleng had spent the night out drinking. So there may have been a little alcohol involved. It's possible. So while Caswell was yelling and shouting at Itumeleng to get a friend away from the house and send the friend away, swearing that the friend would not spend the night, Itumeleng was also firing back, saying that her friend was going to spend the night in their house. And the fight got so heightened that it became physical. Caswell and Itumeleng started going at each other. And that was when it was believed that the friend of Itumeleng ran away from the house, called security officers in the neighborhood, even called police because she could not deal with the fight that was going on in her friend's house. But before the police could get to Caswell's house, Caswell had already been stabbed multiple times and had fallen on the bed, where it was believed he bled to death. After Itumeleng had stabbed Caswell during their fight, it was believed she too ran away, and for 2 days, no one saw or heard from her. It was said she was on the run. Caswell was rushed to the hospital, but he could not make it and was eventually pronounced dead and deposited into the morgue. It was 2 days later that Itumeleng showed up with her lawyer, claiming that she had stabbed Caswell in self-defense, that Caswell was attacking her. Because at the time, in her claim, she had already given birth and their baby was already 2 months old. This was a baby she was carrying when Caswell was thinking of divorcing her. And Itumeleng was saying that it was because of that baby and how Caswell was being erratic and being violent towards her that she had to stab him to protect herself and the child. Itumeleng was arrested initially, but she requested bail. And while she was requesting for the bail in the court, the family of Caswell were protesting. People did not want her to get bail. They believed that she knew what she was doing and that she killed this man deliberately because the court case had begun, the trial had begun. Itumeleng was now going to court to deal with the charges of killing her husband, Caswell. Her bail was successful because she had a baby to cater for. So for some reason, the court granted her 3,000 rand bail. But it appeared to everyone that Itumeleng had a strong case against Caswell. One thing is for sure, she's a woman. And another thing to her advantage was that she had only just given birth. So her stabbing Caswell and claiming it was self-defense seemed like a strong case. Not to also add that she also had a friend in the house that same night. However, somewhere in the case during the trial, it was said that somebody, the key witness important to testify against Tumeleng, was supposed to show up. There was somebody there who believed or who had first-hand knowledge that Tumeleng may have planned ahead of time or may have spoken somewhere, somehow about taking the life of Caswell, because she maybe most likely found out that he was planning to leave her and go back to his first wife. The lawyers defending for Caswell and the family had a witness who was going to speak up on what they knew about Itumeleng most likely planning to kill Caswell, which would make the event of that day, the September the 1st, not an accident or not a case of self-defense, but a case of premeditated murder. But the worst thing happened. Days before the trial could even start, it was believed or said that that key witness had an accident and died. And because of that, nobody could speak in defense of Caswell. Nobody could speak against the claim that Itumeleng was defending herself from Caswell when she stabbed him to death. And that was how the case was withdrawn from the courts. And that was how Itumeleng got scot-free. And she was never found guilty. She was discharged and acquitted. And what is also sad is that given that she was still the wife at the time and she has children for him, majority of his wealth or money or resources would still go to her. Caswell was given a proper fancy burial and a lavish send-off during his funeral by his family and friends. Even his first wife attended it. But that was as good as it got for him. And now, his story is nothing but a lesson to a lot of young men out there. Stick to the woman who was there when you had nothing. Because honestly, that is how you know who truly loved you. When they were there, when you did not have enough. It's so unfortunate for Caswell. The story, when I learned about it, I was just heartbroken. I could also see that because at the time he was 30 years old when he died, so which meant that he was most likely younger when all of this was happening. He was most likely younger when he married his first wife. So I could see how the amount of wealth that he got at a very young age could have changed his mindset, could have made him feel like, oh, he needed to do more. Because one thing I think to me was a problem with Caswell's situation is that he maybe got married very early. I'm sure he got married to Tembisile at a very young age. They were maybe 24, 25 when they got married. And whether most people like it or not, for a man, even for a woman, in some cases, that is young. Because at that age, there's still so much to explore. There's still so much to do out there. And I think Caswell got to that point in his life where he now has the money to do a lot of the things that he wanted to do, a lot of things that he had imagined. Maybe as a young boy, he always imagined when he has money, he's going to travel abroad, he's going to sleep with all the beautiful women. He's going to have that his whole phase. They call it the whole phase, where you just sleep around and you're not dedicated to anything. And eventually you can now say, by the time a man or a woman gets to a certain age, when they are older, they can now say, they've been there, they've done that. You know, been there, done that. I've seen it all. And nothing trips them anymore. Lifestyle don't excite them. The parties, the girls, the clubs stop exciting them because they have seen it all. And that is the point in a man's life for some cases that they now tend to want to settle down. But Caswell had already settled down before the finances to leave that phase, to leave that whole phase came. And it clashed with his dedication to his wife. And how I can now see why it was easy for him to mistake love for lust. He probably saw Itumeleng in the club twerking and being a baddie, and that is how he most likely always imagined having a baddie. And if you also look at it, he has been with Tembisile since secondary school. It gets tiring for a man to be with one woman for that long. So I can imagine if that was how he was thinking when he got tired of Tembisile and decided to leave her. But people learn from experience. And I think he figured it out eventually. He saw it. He eventually learned that what he has with Itumeleng was not love, but just a phase. And once that phase wiped up in his eyes, even though the money was still there, he realized that his true love was the first woman he married. And it's just unfortunate before he could take a reverse, before he could go back in time, before he could go back and make things right for himself, the woman took his life. Me personally, do I believe Itumeleng killed Caswell deliberately or used that opportunity to end his life? It's hard to, since that they were fighting, since that there was a big fight going on, it's hard to point it out. But if she knew or had any idea that Caswell was going to divorce him after their second child, which was the plan, then there is that possibility that she set it up to kill him in a way where it would look like there was a problem. Maybe she knew how to press his buttons. She knew what would annoy him, because I don't know why your husband would tell you not to let your friend be in the house and you will still do it. I think she knows that Caswell did not like that friend and maybe has warned her about the girl many times. But she wanted to trigger him. She wanted a fight so that she can pick up a knife and kill him. Because if she does it any other time or in any other occasion, it would be deliberate murder. She needed to put herself in a situation where she would have to defend herself. She needed somebody else there to see it. When you think about it, it seemed very smartly orchestrated by Itumeleng. And I will not be surprised if that is the case. I won't be. Because for Caswell's problem that night was not that she went out to drink, was not that she spent the night out. It's not that she even brought a man. I felt like that was not the reason Caswell, according to the story, was angry at her. Because for Caswell, he was done with the marriage. So if Itumeleng was sleeping around, I don't think he would really care. If Itumeleng was doing anything with her body, I don't think that would bother him. That is what it seemed like to me. But for Itumeleng to bring a friend to the house, and that friend angered Caswell to the point that Caswell was like, nah, this girl is not going to stay in my house, it means that Itumeleng knew just what would make Caswell boil, just what will make him spark and yell and shout and, be aggressive, so that she can be in a defensive position and use that opportunity to stab him multiple times and kill him. Because clearly, it wasn't even that serious. When you look at it, she brought a female friend to sleep over. Okay, so is it the lesbian partner? Were they lesbians? Was that something that bothered him? We don't know what the case or her relationship with that friend, but what is obvious is that Caspar did not like that friend. And what is also obvious is that Itumeleng knew Caspar did not like that friend, but brought that friend to the house regardless, because she wanted to get a rise out of him. And if that's not the case, if Caspar is saying let this woman leave, why is she fighting back for the woman to stay? As a wife, shouldn't you be like, okay, see, my friend, sorry, my husband doesn't want you to stay, so let me book you a ride, go to a hotel. But Itumeleng made it a big deal. She wanted to fight him over that because it was not about the friend in the first place. It was most likely about her plan for her to, create a situation where she can use and kill this man. And for the witness who maybe knew about this premeditated murder situation, them dying from a car accident seems like something we've seen in a movie. Maybe if Itumeleng knew that someone knew about it, it's easy to play with someone's brakes and end their life. So, but maybe we are overthinking it. Maybe she was also just fighting for her life and in the process killed the man, and it just turned out to be the way it is and she got away with it. It could be that way too, because I'm not going to blame Itumeleng. She did what she had to do. I'm just going to see it as Caspar not making the best of choices. That is why as a man, it's important to make good choices, especially when it comes to picking your partner, because that will determine or play a good role in how much longer you have to live on earth. I guess a good wife will make you live longer, and a bad wife, would kill you and get away with it. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And share this video with some of your friends who may want to learn from it. And you can also turn on your notification button so whenever we upload a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. Thank you guys for watching.